Today on Paint a Beautiful Picture, we're going to talk about self-sabotage. I don't think anyone really intends to self-sabotage, but you can't believe how often it happens. This is episode 118. I think we all intend to do our best. I really believe that. And I frequently say, as parents, sometimes our best just isn't good enough. I wish I could make that better for you. I mean it. But it's honestly the truth. I think my parents did their best, and they still did horribly. I think most people really do their best, but not everyone hits the mark when they do their best. Because I'm a nurse, I suppose I understand this terminology really well. All of us go through nursing school. We take the NCLEX, the Nursing Certification Licensure Examination. Every single year, between 15 and 20% of people who take that exam, they don't pass it. And you know what? Even though you have the education, you don't get to put the letters RN behind your name because you're not a registered nurse until you pass that exam. And after you take that exam a few times, if you do not pass it, then you're not a nurse. You can work as an LPN or an LVN in some states, but you cannot work as a registered nurse without passing that test. That's what I said. We all do our best. We don't all hit the mark. It's the truth. Just like that's true of a basketball team. Do you know how many people in a high school, a college, even professionally, they try out for a team, but they don't make it? We all do our best. Sometimes we don't make it. That's a different story because that's doing something to the best of our ability. But in self-sabotage, oftentimes, not only do we not do it to the best of our ability, but we have a long list of reasons and excuses to dismiss our failures or to explain them to ourselves and someone else. Let me help you with this. Okay, so someone says, I really like this guy. He's a really super good guy, and I really believe that we're going to be together. And yet, they say, now this is not a conscious thought, but he's a lot better than me. He's smarter than me. He's better looking than me. He has a better education than I have. One day he's going to leave me. So I might as well just, go out with this other guy. And then when he finds out that this happens, he'll drop me anyway. That is self-sabotage. That's based on a belief about yourself that you don't deserve to have someone this good and you don't deserve to be this happy. And you sabotage the relationship yourself. Let's put it into another term. So here you are as a teenager, and you have this group of friends, and they're actually really decent people, and they're all going to go to college, and they're all really active in certain things at school. You don't feel like, even though you're basically the same as they are, that you deserve to have this caliber of friends or people who are this good. You're not really a good person. You aren't really quite like them. This is what you believe or think about inside of yourself. And so you go around and cause trouble within this group. You're always the one who's being disruptive. You're talking about this person behind their back, and you're causing trouble with this person, and you go to this person's house and cause trouble for another person in the group. You're self-sabotaging. Pretty soon that group of friends is going to get sick and tired of you and put you out the door. So instead of being able to enjoy the camaraderie and the friendship of this group of people, you are destroying your own chances of having good relationships with people within this group, and even trying to destroy them having good relationships with each other. You are self-sabotaging. Your child, for whatever reason, may have a tendency to do this. Some kids really are much more insecure just in and of themselves, almost like they are born that way. And as a parent, you need to be paying attention. If you have a child who's frequently self-sabotaging, you need to watch that and you need to deal with that. So my question for you is this: do I know my child well enough? That's the question. That's all I can ask you. Do I know my child well enough? If you do know your child and you know that she's a little insecure, oh, Mom, I'm not as pretty as those girls. Yes, sweetheart, you actually are. Well, you're my mom. You have to say that. Then guess what? You need to find someone that's not mom, their Aunt Clara that they adore, or one of your best friends that's willing to take her shopping or take her to go get a manicure. The other day when I had my manicure done, there was a little girl there, and she was 11 years old. It was the first time she ever had a manicure. And she was there with someone that was really special to her, and she talked to me about that, how amazing that was for her. And she's kind of a tomboy, you know. She plays baseball, and she's a pitcher, and I could just see her with her little ponytail, her hat on out there playing baseball, but she got her nails done. She kind of was getting into her feminine side. You know, you need to know your child, and if you can't give them everything, here's a secret, mom and dad. You cannot give them everything. You really cannot. You need to have other people in their world who are meaningful and important to them, who can speak to them and help them feel encouraged and strengthened and developed. So when you know your child, you say to this person, yeah, my child's a little insecure about how she looks. Do you mind spending a little bit of time with her and along the way just to encourage her? Most people are thrilled to be able to do that, especially someone who's a little bit older. They don't mind a bit. And so you want to meet your child's needs, but you have to know what they are, because that insecure child is very likely to grow up and be a person who participates in self-sabotage. If your son doesn't feel like he's all that strong or all that smart, in reality, he's as strong as anyone, and he's definitely as smart as the average kid, and maybe more so. You have to find a way to bolster their self-confidence. You have to build building blocks into their life upon which they have a good foundation, and they can progress from there in a healthy way. So you have to know your child well enough to know where they're having troubles, where they have self-doubts and fears, where they have insecurities, and then you have to discover how to meet them. So I'm going to invite you, keep coming back, keep paying attention, keep listening to the things I'm talking to you about, and I'm helping you with in developing your skills as a parent. Because if you don't address those issues when they're young, I mean literally from the time they're about 3 to 10, by the time they're in those preteen years, 10, 11, 12, and early teen years, you're late. Now, don't give up hope. If you have a child in that age bracket and you go, wow, I've been missing the boat all these years and I really need to do something, then do it. And do it now. And do it with real intent. And do it with strong, strong effort. Don't give up and go, oh, I already missed the boat. That one already sailed. Not necessarily. If they're still in your house, you have time and you have opportunity. Please make use of it. Ideally, you're going to tackle these things when they're really young, and that requires you paying attention and knowing your child well. So your child has a tendency to self-sabotage. I mean, literally, some people tear stuff up after they make it. It was beautiful. It was amazing. With little kids, it'll be things like artwork, and they'll just tear it up into little pieces. You're like, what was that? Oh, it was so ugly. It was terrible. Okay, you don't argue with them. No, it was beautiful. I can't believe you did that. What in the world? You know, that just adds guilt to them and shame. They don't need that on top of their other security troubles. And you say to them, well, why don't you make a better one? Because I know that you can. I thought that was pretty good, but if you didn't like it, let's do it again. Don't lay extra weight on the destructiveness. Give them the opportunity to do it again and to do it better, and encourage them during the process. Because if you're already seeing it, it's only going to get worse. You need to handle it. Now, what if they're destroying other people's things? Because sabotage doesn't often only involve oneself. It generally bleeds out and goes somewhere else. So they take their brother's science project and tear it up. Or they take their sister's favorite doll and rip the hair out of it and pull the arms and legs off of it. They do things that are destructive and sabotaging other people's things as well. And oftentimes those really are signs of their own insecurity. Well, I can't do it that well. This isn't the language they're going to use, but you understand the underlying message. I can't do it that well, so I don't want to see his stuff either. Or I got really mad at her and she's really mean to me and she really doesn't like me. I'm going to tear apart something that really is important to her. When you see those kinds of destructive behaviors and they're sabotaging things, you need to make note of those and deal with them. If this is a pattern, it's going on and on and on, and it's getting more and more severe, you really need to get your child some help. As I've told you in the past, I have no issues whatsoever with recommending to you that you find a good counselor, because sometimes as parents, there are just things we don't know how to address or we can't address adequately. And there's nothing wrong with us admitting that we need help. There isn't anything wrong with admitting that our child might need some additional help as well. Again, if you've never heard me say this, go to a counselor a couple times. If it's not working, that's not set in stone. Don't keep going back. Look for someone you feel good about, your child feels good about, they're comfortable talking to, but get them some help if you really see this destructive pattern getting bigger or if it is ongoing over a period of time. But in self-sabotage as adults, oftentimes what we are teaching to our children, again, not through our words, but through our actions, is that I don't deserve anything good. And if I don't deserve anything good, then certainly your children are going to adopt that attitude as well. Well, if my mom doesn't, and my mom's pretty amazing, then certainly I don't deserve anything good. If my dad does not deserve that promotion and he shoots himself in the foot so that it doesn't happen, then that's what I'm probably going to do too. I'll never really be successful. I won't be any good at anything. You have to be very careful that what you are doing and the ways in which you are acting, they're going to have an influence and an impact on your children. And so I want you to do an honest assessment. If I'm doing these kinds of things, sort of self-destructive, self-sabotage behaviors, am I starting to see it in my child? Have I addressed my own underlying issues? Because if you haven't even addressed your own, you cannot address them with your child. The great news is when you address them with yourself, if you are going to a counselor, if you are talking to a pastor, if you're working them out with someone, then you have the opportunity in your own child's life to help him or her work through some of the same kinds of things. I want you to understand it is not as unusual as you might imagine. It often happens in the workplace. There is no question whatsoever that it happens in relationships. Oh my gracious sakes. It will happen in our creative endeavors. Sometimes it even happens on vacations. People build up and have this great anticipation for a wonderful time on their vacation. And then they go on this vacation and they're just grumpy and cranky and nasty and horrible. Like they ruin everyone's vacation. That can be an element of self-sabotage. So instead of our family having this wonderful, amazing, marvelous time together, they destroy it completely. And sometimes it's one of the parents, and sometimes it's a teenager. They're not only impacting their own life by sabotaging it, but as I said, they're doing this to everyone else too. It needs to be addressed and it needs to be called what it is. It needs to be stated to the child, this is not healthy. This is not acceptable. All of us planned for this for a very long time. If you want to have a junkie attitude, you go in your room, you close the door, and you go right ahead and have a junkie attitude. But all of us are not going to put up with or deal with or be disrupted by your really crummy attitude. You can't do that with a 3-year-old. You can certainly do that with a 15-year-old. All right, I hope this has helped you to understand a little bit that sometimes we human beings, we're complex. Sometimes we do things that don't make sense or seem absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to leave you with a story. I was notorious for sabotaging relationships when I was young. That is not very surprising considering the family that I walked out of. I did not understand its roots nor its implications. So occasionally with a few friends, I really sabotaged my relationship and lost those relationships because of it. Some of them probably were really decent relationships and would have been ongoing if I had not done that. I have learned now that I am older and thank God significantly wiser to protect and nurture my relationships. And so I want to say to you very clearly that this can be overcome. And it is a great skill when you learn to believe in yourself and nurture yourself and believe that you deserve to have great relationships, great experiences, a good job, and honestly, a good life. I hope this has been helpful for you today. Please send me your comments or questions, suggestions, and if you feel free to share it with someone, a friend, and I will look forward to seeing you again soon on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.